In this video, we will cover probability. So before we start, we'll cover some terminology. A complementary event is the opposite event. For example, the complementary event to selecting an ace from a deck of cards is selecting a card that is not an ace. They're opposite events. PE means the probability of an event, E, occurring. If all possible outcomes are equally likely, then the probability of the event equals the number of favorable outcomes divided by the total number of outcomes. A favorable outcome is one of the outcomes in the event that you want, or whose probability you are calculating. We also have the range of probability. The range of probability goes from 0 to 1. 0 meaning that the event is impossible, it can never occur. A half means it has an even chance of occurring. And a 1 means it's 100% going to happen. It is good to think of these as percentages, as in 0% of occurring, 50% of occurring, 100% of occurring. So complementary events are events that together make up all the possible outcomes, such as a head and tail when tossing a coin. The complementary of an event E is made up of those outcomes in the sample space that are not E, usually written as E bar. Because an event and its complementary events are all possible outcomes in the sample space, the sum of their probabilities must equal 1. For example, the probability of flipping a heads on a coin is a half. The probability of flipping a tail is also a half. Together, they make a total probability of 1. So, P event plus P complementary event equals 1. If you were trying to find the complementary event, you could have 1 minus the event. For example, if I was trying to find the probability of getting a tails, and I know that the probability of getting heads is a half, we would have 1 take away a half, which is a half. We will now answer some questions. So on your screen you can see a spinner, and we need to list the sample space when this spinner is spun. So remember, the sample space is all possible outcomes. So for our spinner, our sample space, let me change color. We tend to use these curved brackets, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These are all events that can occur when I spin the spinner. Find the probability of P4. So remember, the probability of an event equals number of favorable outcomes divided by the number of outcomes. So in our case, our number of favorable outcomes is 4. In our spinner there is only one 4, so we'll have 1 on top of our bracket, fraction. And the number of outcomes is 6 because there's 6 numbers, so 1 over 6. Now what is the complementary event to the spinner landing on 4? Well, it is all other events occurring. Therefore, remember your complementary event is just your opposite. So for 4, our complementary event, so 4 with the bar above it to recognize that it's complementary. We're not doing probability, we're just doing the events. Therefore, instead of that, it'll be 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, or all numbers but 4. You could also write that. Now we need to find the probability of not 4. which is the complementary. So this is the same as having 4 bar. So how many numbers are not 4? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's still 6 numbers altogether. So the complementary event is 5 over 6. To end the video, we'll do a quick recap. Remember, the probability of an event occurring is the number of favorable outcomes divided by the total number of outcomes. What you're looking at, or how many of the things you're looking at, divided by the total. Remember, the probability of an event and the probability of its complementary event, which is the opposite event, adds up to 1. The range of probability goes from 0 being impossible to 1 being certain. And remember, the sample space is all possible outcomes for an event occurring.